I first met Gary about 5-6 years ago. Persuaded him to be one of the first members of the Erdington Town Centre Partnership. Gary was a professional guy and a great mate, and will be missed dearly.
I remember meeting Gary for the first time in early 2004, when as a traders association we were looking really to try and move up to the next stage and develop as a partnership. And we came and introduced ourselves to Gary and explained who we were and what we were attempting to do. And Gary was very supportive, and it turned out to be a support that lasted all of the time he was here in Erdington. He gave of his time freely. He's very energetic. He got an awful lot of his staff involved. I have to say, partnerships are based upon having contributions from the people in the town, and Gary was a massive contributor. Here we are on the chef.
Thank you. My first memories of Gary were in 1989 when I first met him. He was actually at Sturch at the time, over the other side of Birmingham there. And as a colleague, I worked with Gary, and he was my store manager in 1994, where I was one of his deputy managers. And my memories of Gary were a guy who was really supportive, really enjoyed being around people, and really enjoyed to see his people develop, including myself. I then become a good friend with Gary, and spent many times travelling to meetings and socialising and working with him. So again, a colleague held in high regard by his fellow store managers, and sadly missed by all of us.
I used to be the manager of WH Smith's on Erdington High Street, and obviously I met him through the partnership, but my main memory of him is when he used to come in and buy cycling weekly. Every week he used to come in and assess my retail standards, which were never up to his, and always a laugh and a joke, and I'll never forget his smile and his laugh.
Can't say a lot about Gary really. There is a lot to say, but it's hard to say. He's a great mentor when it comes to the cycling. I joined the cycling club. Gary was already an established rider and racer, and so for somebody like me at my age as well to come along and sort of start enjoying the sport, Gary was always there to give a helping hand, friendly advice, good advice. He wasn't too good to ride with poor people like me, or even top racers as well. He enjoyed riding with all sorts. On behalf of the road club, we wish all the best to the family.
My name's Patrick Hayes. I'm the Community Arts Officer for Erdington, and also been a resident in Erdington for some 50 years. And I came across Gary organising events for the area, and I was extremely impressed about how giving and generous he was. One of the main events we did was the Erdington Carnival, which he helped out with all the publicity and posters and general help, and there was no trouble for him. And also with the Good Friday Walk of Witness, when all the Christian churches of Erdington gather to meet outside the co-op, and Gary was extremely helpful. I shall always remember one day, one Good Friday morning, very early, a group of us in the canteen buttering buns, which Gary had happily donated, and if we always ran short, we always made sure that we could always have some extra buns. He was just always very, very open, very generous, very thoughtful, a great member of the community really, and say he should be remembered as a very generous, kind and lovable person, and that the family and his friends can cherish those memories, and that he's at peace now.
Well, good morning everybody. Welcome to Erdington. On behalf of the Erdington Town Centre Partnership, I want to thank everybody for turning out today. This is a memorial occasion, as I'm sure you're all aware. We have a couple of people here this morning that obviously want to say a few things about Gary before we actually unveil the bench, which is to his memorial for all the work that he put in to Erdington. I just briefly wanted to give some people a very little bit of background to Gary's involvement. I first met Gary in the early part of 2004 when we were trying to grow what was then a traders association into a town centre partnership. And we came along to talk to Gary as the manager of what was the largest business in Erdington in order to see if we could actually enthuse him and engage him. We didn't have to try too hard. All those people that know Gary know that he was a man for good causes, a man that liked to get involved, and a man that had a strong community spirit. And over the 5 years I knew Gary from that point, he really had given everything into the partnership. He made resources available, he made his staff available, he got involved himself. There were even days when we would have events here on the high street and he'd be standing outside the store with helium balloons, handing them out to people and welcoming them to Erdington. He was a man that many of us were proud to have known. There were a group of us that started all that off, and we became known as founder members, and that will become a little bit more apparent a little bit later on this morning as we unveil the bench. There are some other founder members here this morning who either have moved away from Erdington and have come back for this, or are now working in the city centre, and we say good morning this morning to Nigel, good morning to Nadine, and good morning to Michelle. I would like to obviously give an opportunity also this morning to anybody that feels that they also would like to say a few words. So after Gary Burns has said a few words, and I'll introduce Gary in a moment, if anybody feels that they would like to say something on this occasion, then please feel free to do so. Without any sort of further ado, I think it's important to maybe allow people that worked with Gary and Gary's family to say a few words. So can I please hand you over to Gary Burns? Thank you.
Thank you. I first met Gary in 1989. Gary was the store manager. Gary was the deputy store manager over in Sturchley in Birmingham. I befriended Gary quite well, and I'd like to think that we remained friends right the way through all the time that I worked with him and knew him. I really got close to Gary in 1993. He was my store manager, and I was one of his deputy managers in Peak Park in Derby. When we opened that, he was really proud to be running what was our flagship store as a business, and really proud to be looking after that and everything that brought with it. And I was really proud to work for him for a lot of reasons. I then moved to Little Hayward in Stafford in 1996, and Gary lived there. And it was strange this morning. I got ready and I turned right onto the A51 for anybody that knows it, or for his family. And just coming up the one side was a solitary cyclist, all kitted out, all as he would. I still can't believe after hearing the news last April I was in Ashbourne Supermarket, and I used to see Gary as much cycling up the road as I did when I was at work, to be honest. So he spent his time really, really well and doing the things he enjoyed. And just to see that this morning just reminded me of him more than work ever could. But in a work sense, I think I speak for all his colleagues, all the managers that work with him and all the people that work with him. He was totally and utterly respected. He had the support of everybody who he worked with, and people, more importantly than all that, really liked him and liked the way that he was. He had time for everybody, he had time for me. He worked hard with myself when I was his deputy manager, and he added a lot to my quality and the way that I work now. So from a personal point of view, I'll always miss him. I still carry around his card in my laptop case, and I still have really, really fond memories of him. And every time I see that cyclist, that will be all the reminder I need of him, to be honest. So thank you very much.
In which case then what I'd like to do now is invite Carol Morris, Gary's mum, to unveil the bench, and then Carol wants to say a few words to everybody. So would you please welcome Carol Morris.
Gary's family loved him dearly, but it wasn't until after his sudden tragic death a year ago today that we realised how many other people loved, respected and admired him too. We'd known that he'd felt really fortunate to be manager of the co-op here for what in store management terms anyway was a long time. We'd known also that during that time he'd felt extremely privileged to become a member of the Town Centre Partnership, and to share in some of your successes. When we heard that you were going to commemorate Gary's service to Erdington by installing a bench, we were truly overwhelmed. But to see the bench today in such an ideal spot outside of the store he cared so deeply about is amazing. I'm sure you'll agree it looks wonderful. Gary enjoyed being outdoors, and it's not difficult to imagine him sitting there in the sunshine watching the world go by. We're very proud and delighted that the partnership have chosen to honour our beloved Gary, and that you have done so in such a fitting way. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts and wish you every success in the continuing regeneration of Erdington. Thank you.
I was going to come in the car, but then I changed my mind. So I should have left a soda instead. Good old Gary.